Hi, this is Zena Harris.
And I'm Mark Rabin.
Welcome to the tie-in.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the tie-in. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. It's the continuation of our segment from the field, where we go out and into the world, wherever it is, and go and see sustainability, technology, energy, people, where they are and where they're doing their deployments, where they're changing mindsets, blowing minds. And it can be anywhere. The last one we did, which got lots of views on YouTube and lots of listens on Spotify and iTunes, was my interview with Dr. Ryan Martina at Burning Man. That one was awesome. And we also interviewed Paul Schrank and the Show Power team at the Global Citizen concert. So this is a continuation of that body of work.
Yeah, no, I think it's so cool. I love seeing this stuff. We don't get a behind the scenes look at this a lot. We hear people talking about it, but this is such a great opportunity to bring this stuff forward so people actually get a look at like who are these people out there doing this stuff and what does it look like? And I've never been to Burning Man, so I was super excited to see that episode behind the scenes. Like it's neat. It's really neat. So you
Yeah.
went to Amsterdam.
Yeah, so I was
Mm.
in Amsterdam in geez now, sort of mid-November.
Yeah.
Yeah, mid-November. And yeah, I had the pleasure of walking around, meeting up with obviously Amsterdam is always a trip. Feels like you're in a movie set. It's just like bikes and vehicles and trams and everybody just crisscrossing and tourism and it's just all jammed into one really tightly packed city. And then I also reached out to we're on a sort of a WhatsApp group, the Enviro group that's for sustainability and sustainable production, mainly in Europe, but they seem to have reach all over the world. And I reached out and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in the Netherlands. Is there anybody there who I should talk to?" So I had a great interview with Green Screen, Marty and Tobias, which I'll show some photos and we'll have the interview. And then also just had the pleasure of walking around and then met up with my friend Peter Paul from Schoon. And so I have an interview with him as well. So yeah, just generally, I feel like they're in the future a little bit. So it's just looking at what they're doing.
Yeah. No, love that you engaged in the network. Isn't that what this is all about? I mean, don't you feel like I feel like I'm a part of several different groups and it's all kind of this, I don't know, seemingly like underground chatter about what's going on, who's doing what, asking questions, these sorts of things. And I really appreciate those kinds of forums where you can just connect with people. And I love that you tapped into that and got these interviews and caught up with some folks. So
Yeah, I even was suggested to there was a little film festival going on, and there was a showing on Friday afternoon, some sort of sustainable discussion production thing, but it was all in Dutch. I thought it would be in English, and I asked a friend who's also from Australia to come join, and we sat there for a little while, and then we were like, okay, let's go get lunch. Um, but it's so funny though. One of the presenters actually had this T-shirt. I don't have the photo handy, but had this T-shirt of like the dinosaur standing there with a comet coming at it. It was like a sweater. And it's pretty funny. I'll see if I can find the photo before
oh,
we
that's
end it.
one that,
Yeah,
funny holiday sweaters or whatever, crazy sweaters. That's one for you.
yeah, I got a kick out of that. But overall, it's always good just to go out and see what people are doing anywhere else other than our own backyards. And people
Hmm.
have great stories and they want to share.
Hmm. I love that part. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So you're going to show us what, like a slideshow?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with a couple photos that are just some cool things that I saw, and then yeah, and then we'll take a pause for the interview with Marty and Tobias. We'll come back, and then we'll go after our chat. We'll go into then another slideshow with Peter Paul from Schoon, and they're
Okay,
like they've got like this mobile battery rental and management platform. It's like a marketplace for renewable energy systems, whether it's utility, film, live events. So it's pretty cool.
cool. Okay, cool. I love that we're doing a good old fashioned like photo share on here. Share
Let's
your
see what we can do
screen.
here.
Let's see what we can do.
It's we talk a lot about obviously sort of reusing products and community organizing and different orientations of materials. I mean, this is I believe this is in Rotterdam, but I just love this near a university, and apparently it was set up temporarily, but it turned into like this really vibrant little clean looking container community. You can see like a greenhouse up top. I mean, this is like
So this is these are
multi-story.
containers that
Yeah,
are
they're
turned into
shipping.
like apartments.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, they're shipping container, and they're right near the train station. And yeah, I just thought it was the coolest thing. I mean, look at this one upside down here. Um, yeah, it's just like, why not? Why not start to make places livable and repurpose different areas? And you can see here's a bit of a wider shot, but
Hmm.
you can see it goes all the way to the back there. Yeah, I just really got a kick out of this. And there's also another little restaurant here, a little coffee shop with, again, multiple stories. I mean, I wish I'd gone into this
Is
one.
this container to container coffee as well?
Yeah, this is containerized sort of restaurant, bar, coffee shop, beer.
I love this. This is like, yeah, like reusing existing materials and all the cool things that we can do with existing materials. Is
Yeah,
it,
and just
there's,
building livable spaces for people to hang out in and yeah,
hmm
do cool things. I love it.
yeah, so many opportunities out there in the world.
Totally.
So, all right.
And
Oh,
then you
hello.
see these little buggies around everywhere. They're able to go on the bike paths.
Oh,
So most of them are electric. There's some gas powered ones, but most of these are electric. You can fit two people in there, and you can park them. You can go on the bike paths. They're just like this is on the little a boat between parts of the city.
so is this like smaller than a smart car? Like these are like
Yeah,
super small. Okay.
super small. Look at the size of the bike behind. Like it's like
Yeah.
basically the length of a bicycle.
Okay. Do you need a special license? I mean, surely you need a
I don't
special license.
know.
I mean, I don't know. I
You
mean,
must.
what?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like if you
It's
can take this thing on a bike path, I mean, they're so silly and funny and like practical. I mean,
yeah.
they just make a lot of sense to me, right? Like,
It's like a little golf cart that you just drive around
yeah.
it's the city. That's fun.
I mean, why not? In the rain and the cold, you can just cruise around.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do in the snow, but
Mm,
yeah, but they just crack me up everywhere I went.
yeah.
And then I went to the countryside as well, and it's always impressive to see wind turbines. I have to
I know.
say, like
I
we don't
know.
see a lot of them in the day to day. They tend to be out in the country or in large farmer fields or in different windy areas. But when
Hmm.
you do see these things, they are massive.
Yeah.
They're like absolutely ridiculously huge.
I I know. We were driving, this is a couple years ago. I used to live in Oregon, and in Eastern Oregon, they're just like over the hillsides, and you can see them, for miles and whatever. They look so beautiful, so majestic to me. Like I'm thinking, and we're driving, and I'm telling my husband, stop the car next to one of these turbines. Rolled down the window, got out of the car, like stood there for a moment and just listened. Like, is this thing loud? What's it gonna do? Like all the stuff. And it was just so cool. I love seeing this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they're super impressive feats of engineering. And I mean we'll start to see more and more of this stuff. There is a lot of NIMBYism
Yeah.
around these types of developments. Um, but I mean you're starting to see offshore. Yeah, we're a bit slower in North America to introduce these, but there are places where they're quite prevalent.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And then again,
Cool.
yeah, so another one again you can kind of see
Hmm.
these things, like I said, they are massive. I do know that sometimes when it gets super windy, they actually turn off
Mm,
because yeah, they just it's too I don't know for the mechanism or it would damage the blades or it damages the units. I don't know exactly why, but I did hear that. So sometimes you see like super windy and they're not spinning.
yeah.
It's to protect the mechanism.
Hmm. Yeah. All sorts of engineering going on there.
Yeah, totally. And you put these with batteries and large battery systems, and then you can also start to have different types of hybrid systems that can, you know, store the energy when it's windy, and then sell the energy when it's at different times of the day when it's needed.
Yeah.
All
Cool.
right, that's a little show and tell. So here's a fun photo of Marty and Tobias from green screen. So we'll take a pause here and watch the interview, and then we'll come back. Funny thing about the interview is they're, oh, actually, I'll have another interview too with them. They're in this little tiny cottage at the very end of a park in this sort of historic little village that used to be there. And so you can see we do this interview inside this rustic little cottage, and didn't have a microphone stand, so we hung the microphone from the ceiling. So the sound is a little bit low, but it's really cute. They're really charming.
But you made it work, right?
We
Love
made it
it.
work.
Just like, let's just hang this mic from the ceiling. Okay, cool.
Hey, my name is Tobias, and I'm in sustainability and in media.
Hi, I'm Marty Keizer. I also work in sustainability, and together we have two companies, Green Screen and At Green the Netherlands. Yeah.
Yeah, and within Green Screen, we help producers, film producers mainly, and also a part of television. And within Ad Green, we facilitate the ad industry here in the Netherlands, working towards a more sustainable future.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
so, what's the state of the industry here, the film industry in the Netherlands, and would you say you are in terms of sustainability and production?
Yeah. So there are a few front runners. So we have had like the last couple of 10 years, there were always producers who were just trying out things and but what we felt, and also looking at the neighboring countries, we saw that we needed a level playing field here in the Netherlands as well. That not just a few people are making the investment, but just like each and every one should join sustainable production. And that's why we also, out of interest, joined a research together from the University of Utrecht to collect data, basically also to have the argument why we should change. Um, and the researchers of the university, they published reports and they also had some recommendations for the film fund. And then the film fund asked us to write these recommendations into policy. And this policy took some while to be
Mhm.
effective because it was like a participatory process with all the trade bodies, so to speak, the producers, the screenwriters, the directors. So there were a lot of roundtable sessions, and eventually the policy was published last year, and then the fund basically, together with us, decided to form a company in which we facilitated producers to meet the criteria of the policy.
And were the producers and the production managers receptive to these changes?
I think like we're in the field now. We are starting to help the first production companies in the process of a more sustainable feature or a short movie. I think everyone is willing; they really want to, but we are at the start of the transition, and I think we still need a lot of new innovations, equipment wise, but
Yeah.
also, yeah, just to start off and maybe try some things and then do it in the next project. So yeah, and I think on the other side, at Green the Netherlands. So
Hmm.
at Green the Netherlands started 4 years ago, 3 4 years ago, we're only focusing on the advertising industry over there, and it started with 10 producers here in the Netherlands, commercial producers who really wanted to make a change within production. And we were looking around like what's already there. So we looked at London or like England, America, and then we found At Green in the UK.
Yeah, Joe Fenn.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah.
And
we interviewed her on the podcast
Oh,
just
really?
recently. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. Well, so we reached out to them, and actually, we are the first pilot country of At Green. The tool is amazing. They just had a new updated version of the tool, and it's so user friendly. And we really see that brands like to use it, and also towards the new CSRD legislation, it's so handy to use the tool. And yeah, so over there, in the advertising industry,
You would say advertising is further ahead than the feature films?
I wouldn't say that necessarily, but I think that's more to do with the even more hierarchical approach. Like when the advertiser decides, like, hey, this is how we move forward, then the agency and the production company they have to
Right.
abide.
Yeah, exactly. So it's driven by the client
Yeah, exactly.
so
Yeah.
much, which is unique for advertising versus feature films.
In feature films, we now have the policy, but the
Yeah.
policy is basically measuring it, and
there are no,
Well, there are no like,
how do you say that, rules? There are no,
Yeah.
there's
Guidelines.
like,
Yeah.
no guidelines yet. We're
No.
just first going to measure and then see what's happened and where the most emissions were taking place. But like for the advert, I think they both work with the same crew. They both work with the same suppliers of equipment. So I think it's equal, but with the CSRD coming, it definitely makes brands want to look further and discover what they can do. But yeah.
Yeah, and we have had like talks with various companies that say that the bonus structure of the CEO now depends of the emissions. So they wanna know what they're actually emitting in all divisions of a company. So there's also like different incentives there.
Yeah.
Not only legislation or regulation, but also like bonus structures. And we were
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, that's also interesting.
Whenever I come to the Netherlands, I always impressed at how sort of ecologically minded or advanced in many different ways. So I would expect this to be well received and easy to start to move through the different organizations.
Yeah.
But what type of challenges have you encountered in sort of implementing sustainable production or green initiatives in the film?
I think what's the hardest part over here is that we find that the crew members already have so many things to do, so many responsibilities, that it's hard to add another extra task of searching for those more sustainable options. So that's where we come in as consultants and as sustainability managers, and we really try to help those crew members find those solutions and do that work for them, so to make it easier. Because I think here in the Netherlands we are very efficient in film wise. We have a lot of tasks in one function or in one job. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that as well. And like also coming back to your question of the receptiveness of people, basically, I think when they're in pre-production and we're all together and we're calm, and then we're all open and willing, and yes, this is super important, and I have children too. But then when in production, then it's like within the budget and within the schedules,
all hell breaks loose.
We need that. So
it's easy to just be like, okay, we've got 12 hours to finish this thing, and this is the least of our priorities.
But I think in that sense, now that we at the beginning of this year, we trained like 12 sustainability managers here within the Netherlands. and the simple fact that they have this job title and they appear on set makes people already aware, like, oh yeah, we had some meetings before we started, and we were all saying like what we were gonna do, and this is our green memo. So that only making it into a function also helps to take it more seriously.
And I mean, the good thing is that you get to stand on the shoulders of the folks that are doing it in other countries. Like, I mean, like you're working with Joe and her calculator, and then you've got a lot of stuff going on in North America right now.
Exactly.
Are you able to leverage some of that work and tailor it to the local market here?
We're in close contact with other countries. We're in close contact with Belgium. Of course, it's a country that speaks the same language. They're a bit ahead of us. Of course, England. It's very convenient to have this close relationship with At Green in the UK.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. We are leveraging that. In that sense that we were far behind. So if you look at Germany, they have policy in place in the different parts of the country. France, Belgium, the UK, of course, they are light years ahead of us with this whole Albert platform. So when we were also doing the research for the film fund, what to advise and what platform to use, we were also comparing all these different platforms out there, like abroad, and we can pick and choose from that, and that's what formed the policy here in the Netherlands. And I think now, having trained these sustainability managers, we could speak of this notion of leapfrogging. So now we're a bit ahead of the game because it is mandatory to have a sustainability manager on set, paid by the Netherlands Film Fund. So,
I mean, it's exciting times. I do think you guys should come over to North America for one of the conferences. And we were just at the Sustainable Production Forum as well. So that's a really exciting group of people to get and bring there. There's other events throughout North America. So maybe the Film Fund can sponsor you a North American trip.
Yeah, we have to sail there.
We go by boat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. What are your sort of aspirations for the industry here in the Netherlands? How quickly do you think it's going to take to see 100% sustainable, pollution-free film production?
I think our ambition is closing our company as soon as possible because it won't be necessary anymore.
Yeah, beautiful.
That would be good.
I think that will take a couple of years.
Yeah. We always said 5 years, but maybe we have to push that a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I love that concept. Like, if we're still talking about sustainability in 10 years, like, we fucked up somewhere here, right?
Exactly.
Like, at least in film production.
Yeah, but a lot of people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's also like, it takes time, but we can achieve quite something. And I think it's people are talking about creating awareness. I think we're pretty good there now on that stage, but the actual things we can do and like finding the suppliers and like also like who's gonna invest in what.
Yeah.
So you have regulations here in the city of Amsterdam, and the suppliers, they cannot enter the city ring anymore. Like, they have to invest in electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Who's going to invest in that? The producers? No way. Like the film fund? No.
Yeah.
Like,
so it falls on the shoulders of the equipment suppliers and so on, but then they need incentives because
exactly.
Yeah. And I think the important thing here is that we also try to have a lot of conversations with all the unions here. To also keep the talks or the conversation going, and because they're not in there alone, like we're all in that same boat, and we are going to do it together. We don't have the money to invest in electric vehicles or whatever, but at least we can start the talks and open
Yeah, and
conversation.
that's what we're organizing
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
So it's our open conversations. It will work towards some actionable points, of
Yeah.
course, where and our role in that is facilitating this process of having like the whole. If you want a systems change, you need to show what the system is, right, in
Hmm.
order to change it. And in doing so, we are together creating a business case for
Yeah.
sustainability and moving towards that point. And that's I think what we're also doing
Hmm.
is like facilitating these kind of processes. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marty and Tobias from Green Screen and AdGreen NL.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's fun. I love
Yeah.
seeing like their office, where they're at, how they're working, like what they're thinking about. I mean, good job.
Yeah, and also, it's interesting, like that they did say that the Netherlands is a little bit behind some of the other
Yeah, I know.
jurisdictions in Europe. And I think they said, was it 1.5 million feature films shot in Europe? So there's a lot of stuff going on in different languages. But the Netherlands is obviously such a small jurisdiction and funded mainly by the government film agency. So they've been a little late to the game. So Marty
Yeah,
and they're trying to rectify that.
yeah, it's interesting because I hear them say that, yet their entire lifestyle is so much more sustainable than I
Mhm.
feel like we are in North America. They bike, walk, use containers for coffee shops,
Mhm.
things like this, right? And they feel that they are behind in terms of sustainable production. So it's interesting because we might go to set and say, "Oh my gosh, what are you talking about? Like this is so much better, different, whatever than what we experience." So it would be neat to see like really what they're thinking about or what they're seeing, and how they
Yeah, I
describe
think
sustainable production.
yeah, and one of the things is also we hear this a lot is more access to equipment,
Yeah.
right? And access to folks that know how to operate the equipment and who owns the equipment. Because I'm sure, I mean, it's an easy sell in these places and like Netherlands. It's just who takes that first step and who buys that equipment, and then so that's sort of going on. And then also, there's different production methods that they could glean from their surrounding countries like the UK and Germany and France, and obviously North America as well. But you've done quite a bit of work in Europe, or at least talked to folks from Europe. Have you noticed a big difference between the European sustainability film industry and North America?
I mean, I think it's things like how they approach, one of the things that always stood out to me was how they approach construction. Like in the construction department, we build, the platforms, the flooring, for every production, and there's a lot of scaffolding used in Europe that is just reused over and over and over again. And so that kind of thing, there are differences in that way. Um, but I think, as we think through like these key areas in production and having, you know, fuel consumption being one of them, I think that access to equipment and availability is really important. I think across the board, every jurisdiction, I hear everyone talking about stuff like that. Um, so worth thinking through. I mean, different places, eat different foods. That's also important,
Mhm.
right? Food is a big thing. Like we don't want to eat a ton of meat. And so some places kind of are more comfortable with that, just culturally anyway. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting. I mean, and we know the UK obviously has been a leader in sustainable production for the past decade. So they work with Joe Fenn, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, from AdGreen. So they've got the AdGreen NL. So that's pretty cool. So I mean, there's an opportunity there as well in advertising business and to really leapfrog potentially the feature film.
Hmm.
So yeah, a lot of opportunities, but there still feels, they're still in the early days, pushing things up a hill.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Well, gosh, aren't we all? Like, I've been doing this for 10 years and I still feel like we're still uncovering all these massive opportunities. So, good for them. Good for them for getting in there and really, pushing. And even from like the government side too, right? The
Mhm.
policy side. I mean, how cool is that they got in there
Yeah.
and
They were
focused on that?
hired. I mean, they were hired to
Yeah.
do that. That's how they started it. And so,
Yeah. I think that's awesome. That's a difference. I mean, we're
yeah,
not hired by the government to do stuff. In fact, we're like pushing to break down the door to get to you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like to get
yeah.
policy in place. Like so that is a difference, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, I remember in the early days of Portable, I mean, when I actually showed up with a renewable energy generator or solar generator, that's when they started to figure out how to make policy around it. So I had to create the solution first, which is always normal, and then folks were like, "Oh yeah, maybe we should start to make policy around this."
Yeah.
Versus like they're making policy and then they're figuring out how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Different regions, different
Mm-hmm.
different strokes. Um, cool. So next, the next thing I did was I spent all day with Peter Paul from Schoon, and I've known Peter Paul for many, many, many years, and love what they're doing. And as I mentioned earlier, they've got this marketplace, this energy management, energy rental marketplace for mobile batteries that can be rented through the platform. You can get all the data. You can rent it to events and festivals and film industry, but also they're starting to rent it to the utilities in other areas for grid congestion, which we're going to see a lot more of that, especially here in North America eventually, where there's going to be large fleets of mobile batteries that can be moved into different parts of the grid at different times of the year to offset congestion and peak times. So it makes a lot of sense to me
Can
what they're
you
doing.
just can you just break down what grid congestion is?
Yeah. So right now we have different at different times of the year in different regions, you have these sort of like peak demand um, at the grid level. And so at that point, they either have to curtail, as in like reduce, like for example, in California, remember a couple of years ago, they were like, don't turn your air conditioning on, don't turn your washing dryer at 5 p.m. Don't turn anything on because the system is basically at sort of a maximum capacity. Everybody wants their air conditioning on. It's super hot out, right? But that only happens a few times a year or maybe maximum over like a 3 month period when it's really, really hot. So you don't need to put large batteries, for 12 months of the year. You need batteries there for 3 months of the year. And then those batteries can be reallocated to other regions. For example, in the Northern Hemisphere, there are winter peaking utilities because of the heating, right? We want to heat our homes. We have a lot more electricity use in lighting and so on. So then you could move the batteries to that area. So they're figuring this out with their platform and they're getting the utilization rate, which is critical even in film, right? We know that the utilization rate of any item is what drives the adoption, the usage, and the investment in. It's the same with utility scale, where they basically can use these batteries for a variety of different applications for 12 months of the year versus only investing in something that stays there for 3 months of the year. So I don't know if that was helped answer some of your questions. The industry is still wrapping their head around the idea of mobile storage. Um, and, Schoon and Peter Paul will talk about it, but, we went and visited one of their installations addressing grid congestion. And there's only a few of these installations in the world right now that are able to be picked up, moved, plugged in, and then moved again.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's perfect. I just I just wanted to unpack it a little bit because I understand the words, but just kind of, helping to think through what it actually is and also what that application could be for production. So, I understand that, we're talking like large scale grid congestion, these sorts of things. But like if you start to look at it more at a micro level, where you're going to need the power, when, that kind
Yeah.
of thing, and where do you want to like transition from this battery to these two over here and back, and like how can you start to utilize, your various power sources within the system? I think that's really neat for people to kind of see how other, I mean, I know he also like works with entertainment as well,
Yeah.
but to kind of take learnings from other industries and see how to adapt and apply them in entertainment because we're using, microgrids for our productions as we go out on the road, like these sorts of things.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's part of it. Part of it is the pre-planning, right? You've got to know,
Yeah.
how much power you're going to need, how long you're going to need to power that activation for, right? And then they can start to size it. And their platform can help you do all that upfront calculation. How big would your generator have needed? How much fuel savings? Right? So it works really well with, like I said, that event and the film industry, which is a big part of what we talk about on this
Hmm.
show. It's like, how do you know, right? How do you build that trust with
Hmm.
the producers to know that they're going to have what they need when they need it?
Yeah.
And this is what these sort of new types of marketplaces are starting to do. And Scoon is unlocked that. And yeah, I'm really proud of the work that they've been doing over the years. And you can see, Peter Paul, and he's just a wonderful spokesperson for the industry. And I know that they're currently in Europe and they will be coming to the US as well. And they want to be the biggest utility in the world. And I love that. And they're so ambitious. And you can see Peter Paul, just a great spokesperson. I've got a few slides here to show before we show the video, just to give you a little more context. So here we go.
Okay, cool.
The new utilities of the future, like they're going to be different. They're not going to be beholden to sort of old infrastructure. They're going to be dynamic. They're going to be, they're going to use AI. They're going to use new tech. They're going to use batteries. They're going to use all types of different renewable energy sources, like all
Hmm.
combined together. Um,
Yeah.
I just thought
Cool.
I would start with this fun photo of the two of us.
You guys are so
Is
cute.
is the volt stack, right? And so it's fun. Like, so we're on the volt stack from Portable Electric is on their system. Their
Yay.
platform. Yeah,
Okay.
it's fun. So you'll see in the video, this is what their grid hub looks like, and you can see that there's uh, two Atlas Copco battery systems here. I believe these are 250 kilowatts by 500 kilowatt hours, and then you've got the smart grid units behind. So they've got four systems here that we'll do a quick tour around with. This is the gentleman who owns these power systems, and so he was doing servicing for these systems. By the way, there's nothing easy about this stuff. If anybody says, "Oh yeah, it's just batteries in a box," well, that's not true. There's a lot going on here, and there's never really that sort of smooth sailing moment. So you got to really be on your game. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, just like other equipment, right? Everything needs
Yeah.
maintenance, everything needs, attention in some way. So, it's not like these are in any way, more burdensome than the existing equipment that we already have that also is burdensome and needs attention and fuel and all the stuff, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and these are
just different.
complex systems, software, and they tie into one of the most complex, biggest machines in the world, which is the power grid.
Yeah.
So, and then you can see some other interesting things that we saw on our day. We don't sell, there's no Chinese cars here for sale in North America.
Okay.
But in Europe, they are. And so this is one of the Neo swapping stations. So
Ooh.
you can drive your Neo up, it takes over, and it automatically backs up the car, swaps out the battery pack, and then sets you off. So yeah, this is good for taxi drivers or folks that are doing a lot of driving that don't want to spend time charging their vehicle.
I
You can see on
mean,
the
that's
other
pretty
side, there's this
cool. Yeah,
tiny little thing.
it solves, that time problem where you need to stop and charge for like, 20, 30 minutes, whatever.
Yeah. Like I mean, this is really, really cool. It's a little everything's kind of like tiny and modular, but it's perfect. They've really thought this through. That's the Neo charging station in Peter Paul's Tesla.
Okay.
We also went to the beach side and visited a community microgrid, and really, really cool. There's a limited amount of electrical service coming to this community. So what they've done is they've started using batteries and energy management software to start to bring the right amount of electrical service to the various different companies and businesses there different times of year. Obviously, in the summer, it's a lot busier, right? So they're managing that load. But this is really cool. So behind this slim Stradnet is a power system. You can see it back there, 45 kVA, 50 kilowatt hours. So yeah, I don't have much more to say about this particularly, but we went out to here to check it out and just to say that it's happening and people are experimenting with this. And this is what we need to start doing in North America and everywhere around the world is we have the technology, we know we can do it, we have the software. Like we have to start to get case studies and start to get this going. Same with live and entertainment music, same with film. We have it. Not possible is not an option.
Totally, totally. I don't want to hear that excuse anymore because it's totally possible. And just for the listeners out there, like if you happen to know of stuff like this happening in North America that, we could learn more about, go see, let us know, honestly. Like we travel a bit and, to various hubs, definitely film hubs and so if there's something going on like this, we want to know. And we also want to take information and learnings from other industries and see how to
Yeah.
adapt them into the entertainment industry. So if this, cool beachy thing is doing something neat and it could apply to,
Exactly.
location shooting, like I want to know about that.
Well, it's interesting. I don't have a photo of it, but on the other side here, there's this open pavilion where they do live events and live music. So when that happens, they bring in batteries again to help supplement that. So yeah, it's just cool. Like they're just really thinking about it, and it's enabled through the software, the platform, right? Connecting everybody together, because that's the thing, right? No, you're not alone, right? They're not alone. They're connected to a network of battery suppliers who are on call. They're connected to the folks that need the power. They're connected to the folks that provide it. So there's a lot of stuff happening here, and we're going to start to see this in North America. It's just we're a little bit behind in some spots. We're ahead in other spots for sure, right?
Sure. Yeah. All
Cool.
right. That's
All right.
cool.
We'll now watch the interview with Peter Paul and Grid Hub, the Grid Hub that he showed me. Good morning, everybody. I'm here today with
Peter Paul Van Voorst from Scone Energy. Scone is a Dutch company based in Rotterdam, and we're now here in Amsterdam at a project that very much visualizes what Scone does. So Scone is a software platform for clean mobile energy, and how that works is we have a set of software tools that can be used to make the use of clean mobile energy super easy. We have a marketplace that brings together supply, like these ones, and demand. And what our end goal is to make sure that these type of setups can help boost our grid wherever grid congestion or interconnection queues are slowing us down. And we're tempted to fall back on generators. We don't want that. So that's why we step in and welcome to the project here. That is a good summary of that.
Excellent, thank you. And so right now these are 4 containers with power electronics and batteries in them.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about capacity here, what we're seeing?
Yeah, definitely. So every 10-foot container here is 250 kilowatts power output. And then the 2 yellow ones are 575 kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
The 2 white ones are 500 kilowatt hours. So you roughly have a 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt hours, 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt hour setup.
Yeah.
And they're both LFP batteries inside. And what we do is we centralized all the controls of these 4 batteries from 2 different brands into Scone's platform. And then on the other side, we have the grid operator talking to us, asking us for power to push extra power into the local grid here, or asking us to take power from the grid. And then these batteries respond to that, so that the local grid is optimized.
Right. So, and this is addressing grid congestion.
Yes.
And it's a winter peaking utility here in Amsterdam or in the Netherlands.
Yeah, this is a very unique version of it actually. So we're now in the winter. You can see how cold it is. So now it's used for congestion. But this location has already been live for several months.
Right.
Because before that, what we were doing here is energy trading.
Right.
Because the same connection that we've used for energy trading is now being used to solve grid congestion. We call that grid hubs. Okay. So those are locations where mobile batteries containers can be moved to make money there, and then move to another site if they have another job at hand. But it's at the same time a site that the local grid operator can tap into for extra flexibility.
And the local grid operator is communicating with Schoon to let you know that there's congestion, or there will be congestion? Are they forecasting it, or is it kind of like, oh shit, there's congestion, we need batteries now?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, because what we're doing here is actually a couple of new things. One of them is we're not just doing day ahead planning, so making sure that the day before we know what's going to happen, but also intraday congestion management. Okay. And I believe that we are the second one in the Netherlands to have a contract of that type with the local grid operator, but that really intraday you can send signals back and forth, and these batteries can respond to intraday changes in the grid.
Right. And these batteries could stay here for the duration of the winter, or is it, on a 1 month basis?
Yeah, no, they can stay here for the winter. Generally speaking, congestion projects can last 3 months roughly in the Netherlands, because that's when our lowest temperatures are. But it's different. We can also be here for 1 year. Then after 1 year the connection can be expanded, or we can be there for 1 month. And that's the lovely flexibility of the setup. You can really tailor it to what you need at that moment.
Yeah.
And then use the hardware that you don't need somewhere else.
Well, exactly. And so that's what. So these, for example, the smart grid units on the back, and your colleague there. So he rents these out for events as well, and so on. So these are both used in production in the summer months, and then these are then going to doing the
to these type of things in the winter months. Yeah, and that's a big job of Schoon also, to make sure that you have multiple kind of anti-cyclical energy users that all want to use that hardware, and that we connect them to each other properly through the marketplace, and that we also make sure that the hardware needed to solve all those issues is much less, because we actually don't need 10 batteries to do the problem. We just need one for 10 customers, and that in a time of hardware shortages and hardware issues is also a big issue.
And your utilization rate goes up. I mean, and that's probably the number one factor, right? Is you don't want a battery sitting around for 6 months.
Exactly. Yeah, and because these grid hubs for energy trading itself are always available, you can always come to us and say, okay, right now I don't have a rental customer, can I place it on a grid hub? And then you can.
Yeah, amazing.
And,
Do you want to maybe do a quick walk around here? What
sure,
we're seeing?
Yeah. So we can walk through here. Let's not disturb on too much. So what you see here is two Atlas Copco batteries. They're owned and operated by Atlas Copco Rental. So here you see the 250 kilowatt, 575 kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
And what's really nice about them, they are very stable in their state of charge. So LFP batteries are very hard to keep a consistent state of charge reading on. So those algorithms can be quite sophisticated, and these batteries perform very well in that.
Large thermal management system on the back.
Yeah, you see that they have experience in renting temporary power. So then you have all the power lock cables running around. So here you have one set that is running around there, and then all of it is ending up here. in the local transformer, and this one is installed on site. So that's where we interface with the local grid.
And this is owned by the grid operator, or is this owned by the company that is being sort of whose land this is on?
So I think in this case, this one is owned by the metering company who is contracted by the owner of the location.
Yeah.
So it's not owned by the grid operator themselves.
Okay.
There might be places where we do that. So earlier in the year, we did another project with a similar setup, but then at a substation of a grid operator.
Right. But this is doing sort of a peak shaving for the building?
No.
Or demand charge? Okay, so it's not about demand charges. It's
No,
still about
so-
grid. This is pure grid.
Yeah, you can see this is kind of the entrance of the location, and we just use the exit of the entrance to immediately go to the grid.
Okay,
But they have this here.
got it.
So it's great for us that we can use this to help the grid in the
If
in
this
the
wasn't
vicinity.
here, where would you tie into?
Another location.
Okay.
Yeah, so we pick these locations based on the capacity they have available in the grid.
And does Scoon software like overlay with some sort of like a grid operator software, or interfaces with it?
Yeah, so in the Netherlands that's called GoPax. That's the software that the Dutch grid operators use together to perform grid congestion management services, and we interface with that. So we receive commands from GoPax, and we translate that to 4 separate commands to these batteries, and then we can also relay, if needed, what has been performed.
Cool.
And that is just in markets where you need to show, like, you asked us this and we actually delivered that.
Yeah. Well, and so you're not in the United States yet.
Not with this setup.
Not with this.
We are with the first part of the software tools
Got it. For rentals, for battery rentals.
for just making your rental life
Got it.
a million times easier. And that is the first important step, because that includes also a connection to our software. So all these batteries were already connected to our software before.
Yeah.
And then it was just a simple flick of a switch to also suddenly get access to the grid.
Yeah.
Which is not
So
an
it's
easy part, but that's something we tackle.
Awesome. Great.
And then here you have the 2 smart grid containers owned by Green Battery.
Green battery, great.
So the company that owns them is called Green Battery. And what's interesting about this one is one of them had a bit of a thing that meant that we couldn't use the full depth of discharge, which we do want for the electricity grid.
Yeah.
And so in order for the grid operator to have the full capacity, what we did is we swapped this one out this morning, put a new one in, and the grid operator can continue. And that's the magic of this setup, is as soon as something goes wrong, you can switch immediately.
Yeah.
And that's what we need with grid congestion. It's such a critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult to do things at the speed required for society to go electric. This allows that. This makes it possible to go fast.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter Paul. This is great.
Thank you for
I'm
coming.
going to do a quick little shot here where I follow the cables. Some cables there. Coming around. Wrap around there. Oh, green battery.
Present.
All right.
Okay, cool. Well, lovely to see how it all fits together, like what it's talking about, and these batteries in action.
Yeah.
It's
He's such a great spokesperson as well. I always love to hear him talk about it. Yeah, we spent the whole day together, just cruising around, talking energy, and just nerding out. And,
you really are an energy nerd. I like you're
Oh, yeah.
self-described.
totally.
Yeah.
But you can see though, like again, it's like they're finding applications for these batteries when they're not on set or when they're not at events and festivals, right? It's November, right?
Mhm.
No one's doing an outdoor event, right? Why not get that utilization rate up in the battery? Why not get those batteries reallocated to where they can support different pieces of the infrastructure?
Yeah.
That's what we need to be doing. This whole idea, I think one of the challenges that we've come across with film, and we see it time and time again, it's only specific for film and not for anything else.
Yeah.
right? That's kind of the thing. No, they don't even go to live events. If they're filmed, they stay filmed.
Yeah. Kind of similar with music world and festivals. Like I've noticed that a little bit too. I mean, they're a little more open, I feel like, but batteries used at live festivals, music events, these sorts of things are not like the folks who are doing trade shows, which is just a different kind of thing,
Mhm.
who, they're not using them. The food carts that are at those kinds of things are not using them. Like so I love that there's this cross industry communication and connection and utilization of resources, efficient utilization of resources. That that to me just makes my heart sing because and you can see where all this is possible in entertainment in North America. When things are down, for the holidays, we know that's coming up, and production always goes on hiatus. But
Mhm.
then other things ramp up, and you could be using
Yeah.
equipment efficiently.
Well, it's the same, like our interviews with Hans
Hmm.
Dale, right? It's like, they're using oil industry hybrid power
Yeah,
systems.
we
I
have
mean, come
to,
on.
right?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Like it's an incredible story.
Mhm.
And so there's so much crossover and there's so much gear out there. It's just, I guess the biggest thing is the size of the gear depending on where you're shooting and what you're doing, right? For
Yeah.
live event stuff, you can have a big stage, you could put lots of stuff behind the stage, but in a film context, if you're in a tight location, then you might not be able to have a large containerized battery.
Well, and you may not even need that much power in the first
Yeah,
place. So you
exactly.
might not need that big container, you know. So it's stuff like that too. Where I mean, we've talked to lots of people on this show about batteries and tech and understanding your power plan and asking questions and having that dialogue and really pre-planning and all of that. Like if folks out there, if you haven't listened to some of those episodes, I mean, do because these people are, I mean, and this example with Peter Paul, like if people are out there doing it, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't wait even to go out in the field with Neil Vasavada and
Yeah,
Overdrive, right? Because I mean, I keep seeing his posts.
I
So,
know,
I'm gonna go to one of his deployments one day and get behind the scenes. Looking forward to that, just like we did with Show Power.
I
And
know.
anybody else out there, as Zena mentioned, if you're doing something cool and doing renewable energy or sustainable deployments of any kind, get a hold of us. Send us some footage. Send us a video. Like we're happy to post it on the podcast. Um, our whole thing is to shine a light behind the scenes in the film, entertainment, live events, fashion, sports, anything to do with entertainment, and the people behind the scenes making real change happen.
Well, thanks, Mark, for doing this fun little show and tell, and
Yeah.
arranging your trip, tapping the network, arranging your trip to go out and see this stuff.
Yeah, it's my,
That's
my pleasure. I'm learning how to like get the sound right and the microphone right and the footage. So I mean, it's a work in progress.
totally. Well, isn't it all? Like it's all a work in progress, like everything we do, right? So you know, appreciate that you just got it, you captured it. We're putting it out there. It's not perfect, but it's something, and people
Mhm.
can learn and see what's going on in different parts of the world. So like
Yeah,
let's keep practicing.
exactly. Yeah, and send us your links, folks. We want to see what you're up to.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
We are doing this podcast to amplify the voices of the people doing amazing things behind the scenes of entertainment. You can get in touch with us with your story or recommendation for who we should interview. But first, please like and subscribe below. Hello, entertainment industry. Something I've been working on over the past year with partners U.S. Green Building Council California and Aerith Environmental is the development of the Sustainable Production for Entertainment Certification, or SPEC, as we like to call it.
It's the first certification for the entertainment workforce, and it's now live for folks to sign up.
Yeah, go to the U.S. Green Building Council California website at usgbc-ca.org to learn more about it and to register for an upcoming class. This is a great way to up your sustainability game and gain a professional certification. So this is for you. See you in class. Our designer is Aaliyah Kane. Music is by Peter Chapman. Our producer is Colin Miller.
All right, this is super cool. When I came here to meet Marty and Tobias, they said, meet me at this location, and then they came and grabbed me and then brought me to the corner of the park here in this cute little off-grid cottage. Tobias, can you tell us quickly what
Yeah, we're
this
still
is?
renovating, so you see all these things here, but we have insulation now because
Yeah.
it's winter.
It's a solar panel there.
So we're on a allotment park. So it belongs to the municipality, but we're super happy that we have this spot here, and this is where it's in the city center of Amsterdam.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
And we have this place here. Yeah, it's really
It's a little like gas-fired heater and a solar panel. Living the dream.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe let's do a quick.
Sometimes we even have clients here. We have we invite them,
This
and
is
then I
great.
make a joke. Yeah, we can do some gardening. And last summer we had some people pretty high in rank people who were doing the gardening here.
That's
Really.
exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do a walk inside.
Yeah.
I just love this stuff. It's so different than the rest of Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's so cute. I love it. It's
Yeah.
green screen.
Yeah.